Welcome to the Toastmasters Experience. My name is Evelyn. Get inspired by today's Toastmasters Insights. Enjoy the show. And welcome to another episode of the Toastmasters Experience. Now, today in the studio, I have a dear friend. Her name's Vicki, and she's in the studio with me today. So I'd like to welcome Vicki to the show.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Yeah, it's so good to have you. Now, we always start off at the beginning. What motivated you to join Toastmasters, and what clubs are you in?
There were two things that inspired me to join Toastmasters. The first one was a friend took me almost 40 years ago to a Toastmasters meeting. And I just had this most wonderful feeling at the end of that meeting. This was the place that I really wanted to be. And I went as a guest for several meetings. I don't know what the reason was, but I never joined. Then 35 years later, I met a Toastmaster at work, and she invited me along to her meeting, which I went to, and I still had that exact same feeling that I had the very first time that I had been 35 years before. And that club was Springwood Toastmasters, and I'm now a member of 3 clubs. Springwood Toastmasters is my home club. I'm a member of Enhanced Toastmasters, which is a hybrid club, and they meet at Glenbrook once a month, and that's an advanced club. And I'm also a member of Corrective Speakers, which is a fully online club and supports corrective services in New South Wales, in District 90.
So when you say corrective services, what does that mean?
We supporting jails, so prisons in Wellington, and also in the Hunter, and there are other clubs in formation.
Wow, what a great opportunity! So I mean, people who are listening worldwide. So corrective. That's why I wasn't really sure what that was. And how long have you been doing that one?
Well, I've only been a member since May.
Okay, very new.
But I've been involved with the program for a couple of years now.
Okay. I love that. What a great opportunity, because communication is so important. So how many years have you been a Toastmaster?
Well, in another 11 days, have been a member for 10 years.
Oh, congratulations. So you've had roles within the club, but you've done higher roles.
So I've been an area director for Area 11, which is in the Blue Mountains in New South Wales. I've also been area director for Area 14, which is in the west of New South Wales from Dubbo, Orange and Bathurst. So to visit those clubs, I have to travel about 300 kilometres there and back.
So what does the area director, what does that entail?
Well, the main thing is to be a link between Toastmasters International and the district and the clubs members.
And what are you responsible for then, being an area director?
So we need to make a minimum of 2 visits as an area director to each club during the year, and to write reports and to lodge them with Toastmasters International. And the other thing is to run area contests, speech contests. So you have your table topics, your humorous contest, your evaluation contest, and your international contest.
If you're an area director, you cannot compete in contests. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I've been unable to compete for 5. This is my 5th year.
You're doing another role this year, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes. What role is that?
So this year I'm the District 90 Administration Manager.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like so much work. So what do you do as an administration manager?
Oh, very much a work in progress.
Okay, that's good, because this is volunteer. Toastmasters is volunteer. So it does give you that opportunity to learn, I guess. What have you learned being in Toastmasters and these administrative roles? What have you learned that has brought you back to your personal life?
I feel that I've learnt self-control. I'm a very impulsive person. And what these roles that I've taken on in Toastmasters, including at club level, at area level, and now at division level, I've learnt to step back, to pace myself, and just to take my time. The other thing that I'm practicing is listening.
Okay. Okay. Well, listening to all the people that you're working with, is that correct? Okay.
That's right.
So, because it's an interesting dynamic, I guess. The further you go up, it's probably different to a club level. Doing area, then division, that would be totally different. So you would meet with. Do you have meetings with your division leaders, or how does that work?
So as I say, I'm still learning, but we've already had a meeting of the District Management Committee and the Senior District Management Committees. They meet monthly on a Saturday morning, and in those meetings, of which we've only had one, I need to take notes and then to distribute the notes of what is discussed at the senior management level, and just to remind them and send out the points, not minutes, but just the points that have been discussed in those meetings. I need to send out cards. I need to respond to emails by sending them to the person that they pertain to so that they can be responded to correctly.
And how many members are part of this senior, I guess, management division team? What is the official term for it?
The Senior District Management Committee.
Okay. And how many members?
Oh, I'd need to count them. I'm probably better off saying who they are.
Okay.
So you have your district director, of course, who is Pieta Beggs this year. Your program quality director. Your
That's okay. Program growth director.
Yeah, club growth director. They are called the trio.
Okay.
And then you have the top table.
Okay.
Which includes the finance manager, the public relations manager, the admin. So I think that there are 7 people altogether on that. And then the district management committee brings in those people plus all of your division directors.
There's all these districts that we have around the world, and each district has divisions, and within the divisions are areas, and then within the areas are clubs, right? So how many divisions do we have within District 90?
That kind of question I can answer.
Oh, good.
And there are 7 divisions.
Oh, there's 7 divisions. Okay, 7 divisions. And then within the division, is there a cap at how many clubs can be in an area and how many areas can be in a division? Do you know?
The maximum number of clubs I've seen in an area is 6.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if that's a cap.
Okay.
And I think it's between 3 and 4 would be around a minimum.
So you've been a member for 10 years and you've seen the change from the manual to Pathways. What have you found with Pathways, how that's been beneficial, or what have you seen the biggest sort of change from manual to Pathways?
At the time that we took on Pathways, I was a member. So
Okay.
I am able to compare manuals to Pathways in the online learning system. I was also Vice President of Education at the time. And so my biggest challenge at that time was to be always one step ahead of the member in my club. Because if I was one step ahead, I would be able to hopefully answer any questions or queries that the members may have. Mm-hmm. So I reluctantly left my manuals behind and took on Pathways. And my first path was presentation mastery, which I think a lot of people take on because it's such a great base to start from because you learn so many skills, particularly with this second version of Pathways. I've completed 3 paths and I'm working on 6 only because I am a member of 3 clubs. I was, during COVID, a member of 6 clubs because I just needed something to do. So I'm varying between level 1 and level 5, depending on which path I'm working on. And each path I've really enjoyed. I haven't found challenges as such. I love the fact that I can choose the subject. So I'm not being told what subject that I need to speak about. And I can change what I speak about depending on the project that I'm working on.
Okay.
For example, at the moment I'm trying to achieve my Distinguished Toastmaster Award, and I've given my first speech for that where I've spoken about the demographics in a particular area and why that area would be a great opportunity to start a youth leadership.
Right.
And also a gavel club, having that youth leadership lead on to a gavel club.
So you're working on your DTM, which is, explain what that is.
Yeah. So a Distinguished Toastmaster Award is the highest level that you can achieve in Toastmasters. And what I've done is I've completed 2 paths, and you can apply to Toastmasters International once you've completed 1 path and 3 levels of your second path.
Okay, so that's the pathways. But then what else do you have to do? Don't you have to do leadership roles?
Oh, yes, yeah. So you need to have completed 12 months in a leadership role and served on a club executive for those 12 months, and then also as an area director, so a district role as well.
Starting the Gavel Club is part of the DTM as well.
Yes,
is that
that's
correct?
right.
So you have to do the pathways, educational, like what you said, 2 pathways. You have to complete 2 pathways, and an area role, a club level role, and then a project.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So I know before, years ago, you had to start a club. So is that part of it as well? Or?
It could be if that was the project that you chose.
Okay, so
Yeah.
So there's a few projects
Yeah.
you can choose. So what is your full commitment then when you look back at your DTM? What would that entail?
So I see my Distinguished Toastmaster Award as, first of all, having or completing a youth leadership course. And that would be about 6 sessions. And I'm aiming that to be at youth who are from about year 6 through to going into high school.
Okay.
Because I feel that is the time when something like Toastmasters would benefit them most, giving them the confidence to be able to speak and to present their ideas confidently.
So we know that you like these leadership roles, these area, division, up to division, and because you were division director as well, like a few years ago. That's right. So you have done a lot of these upper roles. But what role do you prefer at a club level?
I love the Vice President of Education role. It's challenging. It's the planning of the meeting each fortnight in Springwood's case and trying to meet the goals of each of the members. So what I'm doing currently, because it is the new year, is I'm speaking to each of our members to see what their goals are and how with it we can create and how we can help them reach those goals that they want during the year.
Well, I think VPE is the hardest role ever. So I just take my hat off to you for enjoying that role. But I think from all the roles that I've done in Toastmasters, I think the VPE has really made me understand how Toastmasters works. And I'm sure that if I did area or did those other levels, you probably, the more higher levels that you've worked at, you probably understand how our organization works the most. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, each of the roles is different, where area director is very hands-on with the clubs in your area. And in each area, for example, Area 11 in the Blue Mountains has 4 clubs.
Okay.
Area 14, where I was area director last year, has 3 clubs.
Okay.
And it's a very hands-on position where the way I look at division director is an administrative role.
Okay.
So the division director doesn't have as much direct contact with the clubs. That comes down to the area director, and then the area director at area council meetings, will discuss with the group how their clubs are going within the area.
Yeah, okay. What has communication or what has Toastmasters taught you about life? big question.
What has taught me about life? I can vividly remember my first failure when I gave a speech way, way, way before Toastmasters. And I was standing in front of about 200 people at Sydney Opera House giving a speech about my trade. I'm a wig maker by trade.
Okay.
And there was an exhibition and I was invited to speak for about half an hour. And I had never, ever experienced that before. So I prepared to the best of my ability. I Googled what I needed to do, and I had little palm cards. And these palm cards were going to be my saviour because I was absolutely terrified of what this experience was going to be like. I'd set up a small workspace on the stage, and I stood in front of my head blocks and the hair and the knotting hooks and all of those things and started to speak. It took me 5 minutes to get through my half-hour talk.
Okay. And what do you do then?
Then I had no idea. I was mortified. So what I did was I decided to invite someone up from the stage because fortunately I had my trusty tape measure around my neck. I got someone on the stage, sat them down and started to demonstrate what it is that a wig maker does.
When was this? This was before Toastmasters.
Oh, way before Toastmasters.
But after that experience, was that when you thought, oh God, I think I probably need to join Toastmasters, or what? Or how long was it before you joined Toastmasters?
I probably joined Toastmasters about 3 or 4 years after that, after my friend took me to that first meeting.
Yes. Okay. That must have been so scary to do. I can't even imagine. So after 5 minutes, and you need to still speak for 25 more minutes, but that was good that you could think on your feet and have someone come up. So what is your next project?
I'm currently working with one of our members to help them with their evaluation techniques. This project is part of the facilitation project, and I think it's a level 4. And so my commitment to this member is to meet with them a minimum of 3 times and just to help them become more comfortable with the art of evaluation, speech evaluations.
That's what I love about the new pathways. There are so many different opportunities to do different projects and things you can incorporate with your work as well, like your professional work.
I'm an avid family historian, and what I've done is I'm often invited to speak about that. So I've attended several family history societies and spoken about various projects, sometimes about my own family, but most recently I did some research because I'm also a volunteer at State Archives in Kingswood. And I spend an awful lot of my time there doing research about all sorts of strange things. So one project that I looked at was a person who was murdered, and the case is still unsolved. And it happened in 1927 here in the Blue Mountains. And there was a possibility that this person may have been related to me. So I needed to rule in or out whether he was related. So I needed to do the research before I could do that.
Okay.
So once I had gone through the 1,000 pages of court transcripts, I had the most amazing story of people who were involved, where they had been in the Blue Mountains, and I was able to create a 5-part speech. I was able to use visual aids. I was able to get photographs of the car that was driven, descriptions of the car that was driven, the description of where the event happened, and it was a really exciting experience. I've delivered that speech now at a couple of family history societies. The place where the victim was born is in Cootamundra, and I hope to be able to go there and deliver this speech, and hopefully there might be someone there who was related to him.
Wow, that's really exciting. So you were able to practice the speech probably at Toastmasters and then give it to the society.
That's right. So I delivered 5 and then I've combined them and edited it to make one what I feel is a strong speech and a strong presentation.
And how many minutes is that presentation of 5 combined?
So I've tried to make it an 18 to 22-minute speech, which will fit into one of my parts.
Oh, fantastic. That's what I love about Toastmasters. You can do these projects and relate it to your professional life or to this, I guess this is not your professional life, but it's something you're highly interested in.
As part of my volunteering at State Archives, I've been there now 21 years. And they now offer, as part of Museums of Sydney, they offer the opportunity for speakers to go out to represent the museums of Sydney. And that's something that I'm working towards at the moment, being one of the speakers who can go out, talk to organisations and encourage them to visit one of the properties that are part of Museums of Sydney.
Oh, that's fantastic. Fantastic. And will you get paid for this, or is it purely volunteer?
Always for love.
Okay, always for love. I love how you spread the love, Vicki. You always. But that's great. It doesn't matter. It's still an opportunity to speak, and that is what Toastmasters does. It gives you these opportunities that you don't even know are going to be available. What has surprised you the most about Toastmasters?
What surprised me most is the support that you get from the members, no matter whether it's the club, no matter whether it's the area, or whether it's the district or the division. People are there to support you because everyone wants to see you succeed. No one wants to see you fail.
What has been the most challenging thing that you've experienced in Toastmasters?
My most challenging thing was getting up to speak that very first time. I can remember writing my speech out and having it on paper because I could not possibly memorise it.
Yeah.
And when I went to my first meeting, I made every excuse under the sun of why I couldn't deliver my speech that night.
Yeah.
And so I was let off the first time. I made more excuses the second time. I was let off that time, but I was not let off the third time. I still read my speech, and let's face it, I still use notes. But to be able to now stand up and not get that rash rising on my chest up to my neck and being so visible, to be able to stand there and feel reasonably comfortable in front of an audience, I think that that's the greatest thing that's happened in my Toastmasters life.
I love that. And what do you love the most about Toastmasters?
Oh, it has to be the people.
Yeah. Now, I know that competing seems to be a huge thing for some members. Do you like to compete?
I didn't realise how much I enjoyed competing until I haven't been able to compete.
Oh, okay. Okay, because as an area director, you can't compete.
I think the first year it was just accepted. But then when I took on further roles as the years went by, I suddenly started to miss the competition, the how can I craft my speeches or how can I deliver better. And I think that the more that you challenge yourself, the more that you improve. But standing in front of your club is a challenge in itself. But when you are competing against others, that's when I think that you really bring out the most in yourself.
And I guess as being an area director, you're able to see, and the higher levels you've been at, you've seen a lot of competitions. So you probably know what works and what doesn't work. So that's probably what makes you, So when are you going to be competing next, Vicki?
Oh, I would love to think next year.
Oh, fantastic.
I would love to think next year.
Yeah. And what competition are you looking at?
I was reasonably successful. I got to district in table topics once, which surprised me enormously because I'm not a person who would normally think quickly on their feet. I enjoy humour.
Yeah.
So I've also got to area in international. So I think maybe across the board, but I do need to be more specific. That way I can hone my skills in one area.
What advice would you give someone who is considering joining Toastmasters?
Well, it's that Nike saying, isn't it? Just do it. You don't know what you're going to achieve until you come through that door as a guest, get that feeling like I did that very first time, and you'd never, ever forget that feeling. And it comes to you every time you walk through that door. It's the feeling of being in a safe place. It's the feeling of being welcome and knowing that everyone in that room is there to support you. And you don't get that in very many places.
Yeah, that's so true. Oh, that is so true. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks again, Vicki, for joining me.
Thank you so much for your company. Please tune in next time to the Toastmasters Experience.